Alright, so graphing linear equations. Alright, there's some key things I want to go over first, okay? There's quadrants, okay? So we have to know what a quadrant is, what the quadrants are. Okay, there's coordinates. So we have to know what a coordinate plane is, what coordinates are. Okay, then we will get into the linear equations and what linear equations are and how to graph them and such. Okay, so first things first is the coordinate plane. Okay, so this is a basic. Remember when you did your number lines, and your number line was like this, where it was 0, and you had 1, 2, 3, and -1. Oops. -2, -3, right? Well, what that was a one-dimensional graph. Okay, it's one dimension because it has one line, and all you can do is dots on that graph, right? So you could put a dot on 1, or you could put a dot on 3. Then you could make arrows out of it and all that stuff, right? So that was our one dimensions. Now we're stepping into 2 dimensions. Okay? So our second dimension is going to be perpendicular to the first dimension. Okay? And that means now you have to use a sheet of paper to see it.
So that second one that makes it a coordinate plane?
Yes, this is the coordinate plane. When you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, off to infinity.
Two intersecting. Right?
Yes, 2 intersecting perpendicular lines forming the coordinate plane. So 2 intersecting perpendicular lines form the coordinate plane. Okay, -1, -2, -3. The reason why they're perpendicular is that because they make a 90-degree angle. Okay? So, now we've got to label this. And in the beginning, you were always solving for x. Remember, 3 times x plus 4 equals 7, and then you would solve, right? And you're always solving for x, and then when you solved for x, you could put it on your one-dimensional line, and that it was usually x. And so this one, since it's another variable, is going to be y. And later on, you may learn about z, which is an axis that's perpendicular to all 2 of these. So it's a third axis that comes straight out at you. And to kind of look at that in another realm, it would be like this. It would be like having, and so when you graph a 3-dimensional graph, it would look like this on the board. Okay, so that's one way of thinking 3 dimensions. But right now we're just going to worry about 2. Okay, so in the coordinate system, there's an x and a y. So if I wanted to graph, say, -2, 3, I would go -2 in the x direction and 3 in the y direction. All coordinates are set up in x, y. X, y, x, y, x, y. X's go like this. Y's go like this. So we're talking horizontal for x, vertical for y. Or right and left for x, up and down for y. Okay? Alright, so with that in mind, we graph negative 2, 3. And negative 2, 3, since it's written in blue, I'm going to graph it in blue, would be negative 2 and 3. So it would be up here. And that would be negative 2, 3. Okay? Now, how many points does it take to draw a point? It's not a tough question. It's kind of a...
2.
It's a little tougher maybe than... How many points does it take to draw a point? Now, how many coordinates is 2? But how many points does it take to draw a point? 1 point. A point draws a point, right? You can draw a point with just making a point. Right? So, hence the reason why you can use a point in your one-dimensional realm, right? Points work just fine in one-dimensional realms. Okay? They also work in two-dimensional realms, and in three-dimensional realms, and in 4, 5, 6, 7, but they work really well too in just one. What doesn't work in a one-dimensional realm is the next level to a point. So you start off with a point, and then you create a... What happens when you have 2 points? You create a line. Okay? So when you go from first dimension to the second dimension, now in the second dimension we can start making lines. And how many points does it take to make a line? 2. 2 points. That's all it takes to make a line. Okay? Now, how many points are on a line? How many points? Yeah, infinite. Infinite points make a line. Right? But you only need 2 to draw the line. Okay? And if you want to take it to the next level, you know, third dimension, what's it going to create? Okay? And so, what did the first dimension create? Remember what we used to describe the first dimension? We used points, right? But what did we call this? We called this a line, right? So that was just a line that we used. You know, your what's it called again? Your number line, right? Sorry, it's hard for me to get back into those terms. But when you go into this one now, we call this a
coordinate plane.
A plane. Okay? Meaning it goes off into infinity. It's like this board going off to infinity, up, down, left, right. Just goes off forever. But it's flat. It has no depth. Right? It has absolutely no depth to it. So if you turned it on its side, you wouldn't see anything. Okay? So it's got this huge face, but no depth. Kind of like some men out there. Okay? So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So, I know my place. I'm in a room of women. So, the next level is going to be planes. So, you go from a point to a line to planes. Okay? And when you talk about third dimension, what we talk about is space. And so it just keeps going and building and building and building on each dimension. And we won't worry about all them dimensions. Right now we're just kind of getting an understanding for this one. Okay? Coordinate plane. Okay? We would use lines up in here. That's it. Okay? Let's see if I got enough time to go over the quadrants. Yes, I do. So, since we're in this coordinate, I want to know what quadrant each thing is in. And so I'm going to make 4 specific points, okay? I'm going to make one in green, so I'm going to call that a 2. So I'm going to erase this now because I don't want it to get confusing. Okay, so we have that point, right? And then I'm going to make another point, say 2, 4. So it's 2 on the x, 4 on the y. Then I'm going to make another one in red. I'll put that one over here. I'm going to go 1, -3. Right? So it's 1, but -3 in the y direction, right? Okay. And then I'm going to go, I don't know, how about -3, 2? -3, let's make the point, -3 and then 2, so that's the point, and then -3, 2. So now I have these points, but let's label them, right? So how about A, right, and then B.
These are called quadrants, A.
Well, we're going to talk about quadrants in just 2 seconds. B, C, and D. And there's something special about each one of these quadrants. Okay? So, what is special about them, okay, is that when you look at these 2 coordinates, what do you notice about them?
Positive.
They're both positive. In fact, anywhere you go in this quadrant, and this quadrant's called number 1. Okay? Quadrant 1. And anywhere you go in quadrant 1, it's going to be positive, positive. Okay? And anywhere you go in quadrant 2, what do you think it's going to be?
Negative. And positive.
Negative, positive, yeah. Because this is negative, this is positive. Anywhere in here, it's going to be negative on the x, right? But positive on the y. So, negative, positive. And then what do you think about the C, the 3 coordinate quadrant? Sorry, third quadrant.
Negative, positive.
Negative. Ah, see? I wrote that wrong, huh? It's actually negative, negative, yes. Negative, negative. Okay? So we have -3, -2, negative, negative. And then what do you think about quadrant 4?
Positive, negative.
Yeah, we're going to go positive in the x direction, but negative in the y. So negative, or positive, negative. Okay? And so I could show you -5, 6. 5, -6. -5, -6. 5 and 6. And you can tell me right off the bat what quadrant each one of them's in. Right? So what's their quadrant? What's their quadrant? Real quick. This one. The first one. What quadrant is it in?
Quadrant 2.
Quadrant 2. Second one.
Quadrant 4.
4. Good. Third one.
Quadrant 3.
3. Fourth one.
1.
1. Easy, huh? Now, let me try to get this in real quickly. Later on, you're going to need these quadrants to help you in 103 with your polar coordinates. Okay? And the thing is polar coordinates always go like this. Okay? And that's why our quadrants are set up. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Polar coordinates?
Polar coordinates are something we're going to talk about later on, like radians and stuff like that.